join me in welcoming our session moderator, Mr. Sunit Zishan Langar of Epistle, Sanjana Mathur, Studio Bipolar, Joya Nandur Dikar, Anika Mittal Dhawan, Sonika Khurrana, Kalar Raza, please join us. Shivani Gupta Mittal, House of Lalitya, please join us on stage.
It's an amazing topic for all of us, especially young designers and architects who are looking at starting their own businesses, building design brands. We will be talking about content, storytelling, and a lot of concerns and challenges that come with starting up a design brand and sustaining it for some time. I'm going to start this conversation with the veterans on our panel today. So there's Anika from Mold Design Studio and Joya from Untitled. So Joya, why don't we start with you? When you began almost 20 years ago, the landscape that you were operating within was very, very different, right? I've heard of stories of architects and designers having to write to editors, having to show up at editors' offices just so that they could get an opportunity to meet somebody, show them their work. Can you remember some stories from that time and how you started out? What was your first magazine feature? What was the first call you got or person you met who knew about your work through physical modes of communication?
I think I'm this practice is 24-year young. I would say young because we are still in mode of innovating, doing research, growing, trying to match up with all the new generation designers. So yeah, our time was very, very different vis-a-vis right now. I think social media is very much accessible. Our time, our focus was, intent was design, and probably social media came later because it was very difficult to get into getting published. I think first 5 years of our practice we got published, and we got published because as a practice we always believed in going for competitions, giving our submission for awards. And yeah, we won our first, award. And we were so excited. And next thing, we got to know that we are getting published. So it was a big thing to get published because there were very few magazines. There was Inside Outside, Design and Interiors, A+D. I mean, that's what I could think of. El Decor, I'm not sure whether they were there 21, 22 years back. So now I feel, of course, it's easy to manage for them. I mean, for your generation. For us, it is still struggle to get into, in front of a camera and talking about your work. And we are still, I think, engrossed with more of our work and intent, and it's a struggle to talk about it.
I was just talking to Anika also, and she also comes from a very similar time, right? And especially at that point, it was very, very important for you to craft an identity for your brand. And creating a brand is about having a message, having an agenda, figuring out who you are and what is it that you stand for in terms of design. And Joya, for instance, is wearing a lovely sari today, and it completely goes with her brand, which is so focused on preserving art and craft and the amazing heritage that we have in our country. For you, I know your design sense is very utilitarian, right? It is about merging nature into private spaces. How were you able to communicate that ethos through drawings and diagrams and imagery when you first started out?
Uh, can you hear me? Hi. So, we also started out at a time when there wasn't so much of social media. I think Facebook had just started, or it was just coming up, and we weren't sure what to do with it. Also, so like Zoya said, we would send images and drawings, and so it was all about the graphic, how you could communicate through documentation of your project. First, you would document the project really well, like you would get whether it's about the concept, whether it was about the process, whether making sure you get the photography done, and then creating a package and then sending it out to media, because at that time it was all about print. There was hardly any digital marketing happening at that time, so it was about making sure that your documentation was received, and then following up over emails, and constantly networking on events or trade shows or whatever they were. So it was important that you documented it well. Even the way you did the graphics was important, because it kind of projected your design language, and making sure that the documentation communicated the process, the intent, all of it. I mean, videography was really not the thing. Even it's a very new thing, right? So you had to make sure that everybody understood what you're talking about, and I think that documentation continues even now. I feel like first comes documentation, and only then the next part of the process
Comes the
comes in.
outreach.
Yeah, then whether you how you project it, whether you do it through publications or through other portals or website, all of it will follow through from that point. So that stage still remains. It's just that the newer stages, how much you can adapt to those, that part has changed.
I think from the older school of thought, right, you had these
Yeah.
different mediums to communicate your work, to the far newer modes of communication that the three young people on our panel today have employed to create their brands. Sanjana, I want to start with you. Uh, Especially with the older practices, there was this intent of packaging a project in a way that it looked complete, right? So your photography would be after the home was styled, after it was completed, versus what you do. For instance, it is about looking at that entire journey of creating a project, right, and documenting it at every single stage. Uh, how have you been able to achieve that? Where did you find, because as a designer, you're always a perfectionist, right? So how were you able to negotiate that balance of, and be happy with the fact that you were putting out stuff that will not look beautiful, but it will tell a story?
I think for me it was a realization that a lot of clients not only want to see, the back end part of things, but they need to see it. They need to understand that whatever perfection you achieve at the end is a result of a lot of mess that happens. And it's important to kind of also manage their expectations. That so I talk about, these were the challenges we faced. This mess happened and that mess happened, and there was this mistake that happened, so I covered it up like this. So it's good to talk about these things, because not only then prospective sort of people who want to work for you, they also understand, and clients, they get that, okay, fine, you're just being honest, like this is the reality. So I think it just came out of that, like it's really important to show this.
In terms of the kind of content that you create for social media, even today, detailing is a very important part of that. And a lot of us as students have struggled sometimes to find the right details. You understand the vibe, you understand the aesthetic, but you don't know how to actually get it done. So it's a far more important part of even educating, your clientele as well as the larger public.
Absolutely. And I feel so I have started doing it like, okay, fine, I came across this chipped edge in some sort of project. So, to sort of solve that in my future projects, I started using this product. So I talk about it from the point of view that, okay, fine, these are the challenges I have faced, and these are challenges that, if you see the picture, you'll find that everyone is facing it, right? And I'm not talking about solutions which are like rocket science. Everyone uses these kind of solutions. It's just to play maybe a different way of doing it. But again, like, it's important to talk about it so that we normalize the fact that yes, imperfections exist in every sort of space.
Sonika, I want to go to you next. You've spoken about your journey very authentically on social media, and I would love for you to tell some of our audience also today that story, because you had an idea of what your brand was, and your personal life changed that. You had to adapt to what came in your personal life, and you had to adapt your brand to become a new reality.
So for me, everything changed after I had a baby, and I think women here would relate to that. And I think both of these have just had babies. And it was COVID. So anyways, the dynamics of work had changed. We had gone more we were doing things on WhatsApp. I've literally completed projects with video calls. So it was very different. And I did take a small break after I had a baby. And I was really overwhelmed because for a person who's worked for 15 to 18 hours a day, suddenly you feel lose your identity. And then I thought, and I used to hate social media, honestly. I know coming from me, this may sound weird, but I was a 31-year-old on social media showing her, like the new mommy showing her projects, whatever I had in the past 10 years, and talking about things. And I used to feel very old because people on social media are really young. And I just started, not for anybody else, honestly, just for myself to stay validated and to keep the designer in me alive, and just showing aesthetic images of my work. But slowly and steadily, I thought that people don't want to see the what, they also want to see the how and the why. How you did it and why you did it. And that sort of really worked well for me. And I call myself an accidental influencer. That was never the plan. But well, when it comes to you, I took it with open arms. And I actually came to know that you could also be a content creator, an educator. I do take workshops and courses as well. And I do brand collaborations as well. Anyways, people are asking us all the time, what have you used? Which brand is this? So might as well, make some money
Take something
out
out
of
of
it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a totally different niche for me now, but I am balancing being a designer, an educator, and a content creator. And because I have the following that I have on social media, I have the luxury to choose work.
That's amazing. And I think it's amazing to hear that you can adapt your practice, you can diversify your practice, and you can still find success doing something that you never imagined you would do. Shivani, I want to come to you next. You've spoken about, I mean, you've brilliantly used social media, and you have such a personality on social media, and everybody loves you for that. But there is the other side, right? That the audience doesn't see. How you might have a great following, but does that convert to good business? And I know you've had your challenges, so why don't you talk a little bit about when you were able to realize that following did not convert to good business?
So honestly, I feel when I came on social media, my thing was just like, because I think I was 20, I'm 31 today, so I'm 26, 27. So I was still feeling very young amongst the fraternity that I was being compared to and everything. So our focus was only that, okay, fine, let's just get, like, me and Ayush were sitting at home during COVID and we did not really have anything to do. So we just started, posting on social media, husband wife stuff or design architecture, that always the common argument, who's better. And you know we were doing projects, we built our brand over like 3-4 years because of social media. We got a lot of following because of social media. We got a lot of fame and light from all different platforms, like all these exhibitions that we do these days. It's because of social media. But last 2 years, like House of Lalita has not been out there at all. Like we have completely stopped doing reels and it's just come naturally. It was never a conscious decision and it's still not a decision. Like we still, my team still goes like, we miss you, you need to do reels, we miss you dancing in the studio, we miss you doing this. It just doesn't come from within anymore. Maybe it was a time when I was feeling young and I was feeling bored or I was just wanted to do something. But like after 3-4 years of doing such heavy content and then, being recognized as one of the fun designers and everything, all good in the hood. But then there was a part of me which got really, I felt very rejected because of the open personality that I was keeping on social media. And that actually came from the fraternity. Like I felt very rejected from the fraternity side. And then my clients were very happy that, oh, like she likes to do videos. They are very happy. They would want to be a part of the video. But then, challenges came from the fraternity. Challenges came from the projects. Challenges came like, for example, let's say I'm showcasing a project from the beginning and midway there is a fallout between me and the client. Now, how to get that on social media? That is something I couldn't do. So a lot of things, like there were a lot of leading factors. And then also the whole part about now we were a brand. Now we are running a full-fledged business. Now it is not a team of 5 anymore. Now we're working of like 25 people. Now we have a finance, we have an admin, we have a manager. It's not just interior designer and an architect. So it was so much, and then I got pregnant. So now I'm just like, it's so much is happening. I'm like, I don't have the time now for the content and
I
all
mean,
of
life
it.
will keep happening around you. You just have to find ways to adapt to it. Sanjana, yeah.
So, I also feel that there is a mind space, and you have to decide what you want to focus on. These days, there are professionals who can handle this aspect of social media. So, is it really worth compromising that time on your design intent? And I mean, for us, we all are women here. We have our family to manage. We have our office. We have training sessions for the new students coming in. So I somehow, in one way I agree, but in one way I disagree because I feel there should be professionals handling this. That's totally my intent. But being an architect, designer, a professional, we have to wake up to the idea that you can't do everything. You can't design, you can't train people, you can't run successful business, design business, architecture, any business, and be in the media at the same time. It needs lot of time, lot of professionalism. It has lot of demand, and better give it to someone who can really do justice
And
to
it
it.
takes its toll after a while, and you have to
That's
find.
totally my take, and I'm sure we all are in learning process, and I have a lot to learn from this generation and the next generation. Now it's the time of Gen Zs. I'm sure all of them are.
And I want to come to Sanjana for the flip side of that, right? While there are certain people who find it very, very hard to put themselves out there, you are one of those people. You had an incremental journey with putting yourself out there, and you doubted yourself at that moment, but you finally took that step and were able to then build relationships. And I think that's the point I want to get to. That so much of branding is about building relationships with your audience, building relationships with people and potential clients, and generally with your audience, because that forms the foundation of the kind of work and the kind of values that you want to associate with. So talk a little bit about that journey of yours, from voiceovers to putting yourself out there on the camera.
So my Instagram account is again a COVID baby. I started experimenting, I think, during COVID when there was nothing else to do. And so in the beginning, I was, a lot of people told me that you need to put your face. That's the kind of content that sells. And I was like, no. I just want to talk about my projects because that's what my page is about. And so it was just like initially just posts and static posts because Reels hadn't come yet. And when Reels came, it was just about, like maybe text over like a video or something like that. And then slowly, I worked up to putting my voice on like a video, and then maybe putting my face in like one shot and then hiding behind a column or something like that. And now I've come to a place where I'm like comfortable talking on screen or, and doing that. So it was a process that took me, I think, a good 2 years or something to get from static post to showing my thing. I still haven't worked up the courage to dance. Maybe next year. So that, was the journey.
That comes from passion, huh?
Yeah.
I was trained
I think it came naturally to you, so I'm a trained klutz. I don't think anyone needs to see that.
So Anika, I think when you hear people, like these women talk about how they have put themselves out there and there have been challenges and there have been amazing successes, how does a firm like yours compete with this crowd of people for whom social media comes very naturally, putting yourself out there comes very naturally, and this is what they've grown up on. So how does a firm like yours, we've jokingly called you guys the dinosaurs of this, panel. How do you compete with that?
So, Suneet, you're totally right about this. And Zoya said exactly that. It's hard, okay? One is that you have to balance that whole thing, but it's a constant struggle in our head. I don't know what you feel about it, but in my head, I'm constantly struggling to find that balance, that whether firstly getting out there and doing, it's taken her so long, so I can't even imagine how long it will take me to get there. I just can't see myself being on camera and doing it, even though I see the potential in it, but it's a constant struggle. The other thing is creating that whole content to put out there. Where to find that? In my mind, I can't find the time for it. I don't know.
And even if you give it to a professional, which I've thought enough number of times, still the information has to come from you. You have to drive the
Totally.
content because you are the storyteller. Nobody else can tell your story the way you want to tell your story. And I feel if I have to give in that kind of time, then I mean, I feel like it has its potentials, but I don't know when that kind of time will come. And I'm also very unsure about how to put yourself out there on camera. But I do very strongly believe that when your face is there, people relate to you. And if you put a post of a picture, it doesn't do half as, I mean, it doesn't have any engagement versus when you yourself, people want to relate to you. They want to relate to your brand and your work with your face on it. So I think that's a struggle I am currently trying to figure out.
No, but ma'am, that's a struggle that every social
Yeah.
media content creator or anybody who's trying to come on social media is going through. Like I have
But
been
the
on-
younger people are much more confident
No,
about
I'm
being
telling you,
out
4 years
there.
I was so confident. Then 5th year, I thought, okay, fine, I'm going to give it to a professional. Now that professional has taken 4 hours of the day and go like, send
Exactly
me
my
pictures,
point.
send me content, give me this video, give me that. I'm like, bro, are you serious? I
That's
don't know how to
exactly
do
my
it.
point about this, that I mean that balance is hard. So I've personally taken a decision that this is what I can do. This is at this point, this is what I can do. I do need an online presence. I do need to be there, but I cannot become an influencer, and it's not possible. And one more point that you pointed out about educating, I want to tell you this is one thing I think it's a big challenge. It's not only about educating the younger people, it's also about educating the client. Like, I've had enough instances where I've spoken about something to a client, about a detail or about a design, and they just haven't understood what I'm saying. But they see a reel after 2 months. Yeah, after 2 months, they'll see a reel and send the same exact information back to me. So that's the time when it really hurts because you're like, you know, education, whether it's for the client or for the students, is very important. I don't know if it's reaching the correct audience. That I am not so sure about.
And I think, Sonika, I want to get to you because, what Anika just spoke about completely aligns with what your brand today is, right? You have a 30, 30, 40, I don't know what your split is for those three different brands that you have. And education has been such an important part of that journey. And you figured out just how much there was a gap in architectural and design education in our industry.
Yeah. So my perspective is very different from everyone here. I feel everybody's trying to achieve perfection with social media by hiring professional teams. I mean, no offense to anyone, but honestly, for me, it's always been a byproduct of what I do. And I don't have a huge team to do so, honestly. It's just documenting the raw and very real moments. And that's what gets viral. That's what people want to see. If I'm talking about water sea page, that reel is going to go viral because that's a common problem with everyone, and not anybody is really educating what to do with that. Everybody is telling cover the water sea page. Nobody is telling treat the source. Like, little things like that. Even when it comes to basic education, like she very rightly said, it's not only for the budding designers, it's also for the clients. They know how to go and shop. They know what materials to see, do the haldi test, do the oil stain test. They also know that nobody can really now fool them. Not the vendors, not the architect or designer as well. So in a way, it's helping all of us. And honestly, I feel it's not that much work to be on social media if you consider it to be a byproduct of your life. I have never chased numbers, and I think that's the result. That is the reason why I have the numbers, because honestly, it does reach the right kind of audience. That's the beauty of social media. Now, of course, there are so many trending things and so many other things. I have never followed any of that. I don't even spend time on specially curating content. It's a byproduct. I don't have a content calendar. I don't plan content. Every morning I sit down for 10 minutes, go through my phone. I do have organized folders with like plumbing, electrical folder. Wherever I've shot something related to that, I decide what I want to do, and I just combine the images, do a voiceover. Yes, I am there in my videos because personal branding matters. Even I started like you with posts and my face was not seen. I was very conscious. But then it just came to me naturally that, okay, even if I'm there in the first frame doing this, and then the rest of the video doesn't have me, it does better on social media because there is so much content out there. Like, so many people are talking about same things, but when they see your face, somehow it connects better.
You can connect better to your audience.
Yeah, but the flip side of this is that the younger generation who's coming now all want to become designers straight away jump into social media thinking, okay, let's just start educating. See, audience will only listen to you if you have experience, and that does not only come with age or the way you look. It comes with how you speak and what you're talking about, and somehow people can relate, okay, this person knows what they're doing. So the flip side of this is that everybody straight away jumps onto social media. Let me just start creating content, take Pinterest images, put 5 ideas here, 5 ideas there, and that will work for me. Honestly, people who are looking at your social media, looking at you as a person, whether this person is educated enough to take up my project because it's a serious thing. Images are aesthetic and they're subjective. Somebody might reject you by looking at some other project which was tailor-made for that client with that context. So honestly, when you talk about things, like I said, the hows and whys, people relate to you better and they feel, okay, this person, I think this person is good enough
That's
to
where
do
we
up
started
my
the
own.
conversation from.
Yeah.
You know, to build a brand, you have to have the foundation of the purpose, the agenda, and the credibility to back it all up. I want to go to you, Joya, next. You know, looking at media, social media, as a part of it, obviously, but there are events like this, there are magazines, there are awards, and all of this media, it's used as, you know, a feedback loop, right? You hear the good parts and you hear the bad parts. Somebody will congratulate you and celebrate you, and somebody will also point out, you know, there are 5 things wrong with what you've done. And it's so subjective sometimes, architecture and design, that you have to take it all
But
in.
that's the part of life. It's happening not only professionally, but everywhere, and even in your personal life.
So how are you able to, you know, stand true to who you are and define that brand fundamentally? That, okay, you know, this is what I want to do. I align with these values and this philosophy, and this is what I'm going to do. And yes, I will take some feedback and I will incorporate it within, you know, my way of working. But there are enough, like you said, there are enough people who will just throw rocks at some things that shine.
So, how do I put it across? So, you know, gradually working, when you get onto the field and we started working, if you are aware of the concept of Johari windows, huh? So I think that's what has generally happened to us also. We started trying out what we wanted to do, passion, but gradually more your outreach is, more projects you do, more clients, you know, you attend to, you start discovering yourself from their eyes, what they are liking, what you are doing is what is appreciated, and you start taking that direction. So I think our practice over the period, we've felt now crafts is everywhere, but you know, I take pride in saying that 24 years back, we used to do craft. We used to try and educate our clients about importance of art, craft, installation, sustainability in our projects. And it used to take a lot because clients used to relate craft to always Delhi Heart. Now it's big. Now there are all these craftsmen, they're going internationally, becoming so famous. Everybody's, you know, understanding the aspect of what is the strength of Indianness. So, you know, we are working towards it. Every year we have our workshops and we are consciously taking it forward, what best we can do, what exactly we can innovate, and how we can give it to, you know, to society, to the world, not only society, but to the world, to our, you know, craftsmen. So we try and stand true to that, and that's how we build our content.
That's I mean, we do this in our practice all the time, and you know, whenever we're speaking of branding and brand development, we always say, you know, you have to start with a manifesto. Put down 5 lines on a piece of paper and just tell yourself what is it that you stand for, you think you stand for.
Yeah.
And obviously with time and with, you know, whatever's happening around you, it will evolve, it will adapt. But you should still know who you are as a person and what values you hold dear, whether that's for work, whether that's personally, so that there's something that's centering you to your sort of path in life.
Yeah, totally.
And Shivani, I want to get to you because I mean there are like I said, there will be people who will celebrate you and there will be people who diss you, and a lot of people have dissed you, right? You've been through that entire cycle. How were you able to cope with that? And today, when you look at your brand, how do you define it? You know, in spite of all that crap that happened.
I mean, honestly, it gets. No, and I don't think that anybody is strong enough to like be like, ha ha ha, it's okay. Obviously, it does take a toll on you. It puts your energy down on the table. I have been on both the sides, and I'm lucky to be on both the sides. And even today, I keep telling my team, I'm like, no, yaar, I want to do something again on social media, and they're all very encouraging about it. But you know, I just don't know like how it happened. It just kind of I gelled into the moment and it was a very smooth transition. Not a lot of people knew when I was crying at home when my husband was there. My team was always there. Like, oh my God, the strength that the team gives is something that it is, I always, it's very good. Like the kind of strength your team can give you. I think when you have your loved ones around you, you can just cope up with all the crap that the world gives you. And then you obviously try and fight again. Like, now, okay, what next? If not social media, then how? What are the other things that you can do? I mean, then there was a moment when the whole team and me, everybody sat and we were like, okay, guys, I can't do social media. I know you guys want me back, but then if I don't want to do it, then how do we take the brand further? So everybody decided, okay, fine, let's do the old way of marketing. Let's get pamphlets printed. Let's put them in newspaper. Let's send it out to the it societies. The old ways, why not? Like, let's try. And they worked really nice. Like, everybody kind of recognized, oh, this is House of Lalitya. They used to be like, I mean, we still get a lot of followers through our work. We still get a lot of engagement through our work. Yes, I would get better followers and better engagement if I was there on the screen, but now I don't have the energy to do it anymore. Maybe I'll come back, maybe I won't come back, but still, it does not give that. Um, it does not define my brand. My brand defines by my personal truth. If I'm pregnant, my brand is pregnant. If I'm getting married, my brand is getting married. I mean, that is it. Like, if I'm on a maternity break, my brand is on a maternity break. I don't give a hell, bro. Like, I will not think about anybody else. And I just want to point out when it comes to educating client guys, I will come from the other side of it. I have clients sending me reels of stupid influencers. I'm sorry, the so-called influencers. Like, people don't know the difference between Duco and PU. And I have had clients send me reels. See, even she's doing Duco. And I'm just like, you want to do Duco? Do Duco. Now you get your house done from that designer. I don't care. Like, you know, it's education is good, but the right kind of education has to be there. And I don't know, like, I'm pretty sure you cannot come on social media and go like, no, that educator is not giving the right information. So it's very difficult to tell people that who is right and who's wrong.
Actually, what you're saying is right. First, there's education through reels, and then there's re-education by us, because we have to go back and explain the whole issue, what it has, what the reel is not showing, the issues that it's not showing. So it's a process.
I mean, I think now clients have this thing of being overeducated. Pinterest is there, Google is there. So like, okay, the designer's perspective has gone down the gutter. This is what I saw on Reels. This is what I saw on Pinterest. This is what I exactly want. I don't give a hell. I'm like, okay, fine. And you know, with those clients, I've come down to a fact. I don't sit on the table. I'm like, now I will not come to you personally. You're giving me money. I will do your project. You want to get project done by your Pinterest people? Get it done.
And you know
That's a part of the business.
And that's where this entire idea of, you know, figuring out who your audience is and ensuring that the right people are following you, are connecting with you, and how do you draw that line? I think it becomes very, very critical. And Anika, I want to go to you because, you know, it is about finding talent. You've successfully built up a practice, right? It is about building the brand and making it independent of you almost, right? How do you build a team around you? How do you find the right collaborators? How do you find the right vendors? If you're not talking about the right things, if your message is not going across the way that you want it.
Yeah, I think I've so far managed without being the face of it, I have managed a brand where people know the brand, they know the kind of work we do. We do over the years, we have managed to make a distinct, unique style of our work. So that's also important. You know, if you can project what type of work you're doing and people can understand how it's different from others, then that I think helps. And I think it's a very traditional way of working from word of mouth. If your first client is happy and if they are going to talk about the kind of work you do, uh, then I think that your leads are going to come from that. Of course, that online presence is very important, because I feel now what happens is that you have a word of mouth. Like somebody will say, okay, they are doing good work, but the person will still go to your Instagram page or your website, check out the kind of work you do, and only then get in touch with you. So I think both have to definitely go hand in hand. And I think we have been able to communicate the kind of work we do, and I mean, that's the way it's worked so far for us. And I think that's how the page is also growing, because I'm really not there on the page.
I mean, that's where you try and find a balance between this different media that you have access to. I mean, you do need the awards for credibility. You do need a magazine feature sometimes, because it adds so much weight and it adds peer recognition that, you know, a random reel, like you said, it will not offer. You might be just lying through your teeth and the audience will not know whether you're right or wrong.
Honestly, I feel very, you know, you feel something in your stomach when you see a print. You still love the print, you know. So
we love it.
yeah, so I mean, you still feel that feeling. Cannot, the social media cannot fulfill that feeling. And I think, yes, but the good thing is that in our time, uh, architects cannot market themselves, right? So that whole thing about how do you so the great thing with social media is that you could earlier not talk about behind the scene or sneak peeks, or you could not show the process. And the great thing is that now the engagement can happen from the start of the project to the end of the project, and people are involved from the beginning till the end of whatever you are doing. So that is a great thing, and it also builds some credibility when you post your publications or your awards or you're on a talk show. So I think there's constant dialogue with your audience, which wasn't there earlier. So I think that definitely helps.
I want to go to Sanjana next. There's a very young audience that we have today, and you've spoken about how social media is the perfect equalizer. What would be the one or two pieces of advice that you would have for a young professional who needs the projects but doesn't have the right network, right? How can they use social media and other avenues that they have at their disposal at the moment to actually create a sustainable business incrementally?
So I think this is a very sort of important point that doesn't get talked about, because when you're just starting out in a city like Delhi or in a city like Bombay, there is literally the country's biggest architects and designers are sitting there. There is so much competition. It is so hard to sort of compete with that. Even, you know, when you sort of have a few years of experience, anytime you send out a quote, you know, the client's going to come back and be like, yeah, but there are these 5 designers who are like, you know, quoting this much, this much, this much. They have more years of experience. They have this, they have that. And so why social media that way is good is because, number one, it's, again, like you said, a great equalizer. It doesn't care where you're from, which school you went to, how many people you have in your office, whether you have a fancy office or you don't. All it cares about is the quality of the work. If your work is good, if it's aesthetic, you're posting consistently. Instagram in particular is the kind of platform where you will find organic growth and you will find an audience. And I feel like also it's important because it helps you when the clients finally come to you. I've had clients who followed me for a year, sometimes more, and then they finally approached me. And when they have, it's like because they've made up their mind that, okay, fine, this is a person who I can see myself tolerating the next 2 years with, you know, through all the ups and downs that come of building a project, whatever it is. Like, this is the kind of person she, you know, I just like her vibe or the way she speaks or whatever. So they have, you know, then they're not evaluating you just on the basis of numbers or anything else. There's something extra that they've connected with you through the medium of whatever stories, reels, or whatever that you're posting.
Sonika, I want to end with you now. You know, all of us have spoken about our challenges and aspirations as it pertains to social media, right? But we also know one thing about social media. that it's very temporal, right? It changes, it adapts. You have a new app the next day, and everything that you built from scratch will fall to dust in one single minute. So, have you started thinking about? I mean, you have a huge following. You know, there's so much work and grit that's gone into that. Do you sometimes think about what if Instagram falls tomorrow, and what is the next avenue?
I think about that every single day. I can lose anything but not my phone because I feel that, it has everything. And I think I was speaking about this with you outside also, that the irony is that one side I'm working on projects which are taking, say, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, which is such a slow process, and there is no validation at all. You need to find small wins during the project. Even when it's ended, you hardly find a grateful client. They're still pointing out the two things that didn't work out of the 100. And on the other side, there's social media where every day something is happening, and the next morning you're thinking, what next? So I face this challenge of balancing the both, and I won't lie, there have been moments in between where I feel it has affected my mental health. Like she said, you are in the eye always. You're trolled for stupid things which don't even matter. Like she also said, the reel is worth 1 minute. We're still trying to create the right kind of education, but sometimes the context of it is very different. I'll give you an example. My brother is an architect and he takes care of all the back end. So once one of my reels only got sent to the group, and they said, but Sonika is saying to put fluted glass film instead of the fluted glass, and you are telling us to put an expensive option. And he's shouting at me, because of your reel, the client doesn't want to buy fluted glass. So they don't know the context that I have given that as a budget-friendly alternative to the people who feel that fluted glass is expensive. So yes, in 1 minute, it becomes difficult for us to, sort of convey a message. But having said all of that, I'm glad that I started this journey after becoming a mother at a very mature age and phase of my life where I'm not too attached to it. So if it's going to stop tomorrow, or if it's, God, I hope not, but if Instagram sorts of stops tomorrow, I'll find something else, because the journey, what I've learned through this journey is that, like both of these said, that, you had to really struggle with publication, stuff like that. I am a self-taught designer with no formal education in this field, and I have figured everything out on my own, from sites, projects, everybody. And I honestly didn't even know that you had to document your project, and that's how you go forward. So for me, social media has sort of made me somebody from nobody. And I think that is the good part of it right now, that anybody can, sort of fulfill their dreams without trying to figure out too much about the networks and how to get there. Of course, you would need them as you go. The drill is still the same. You still need to write to publication houses. You still need to send the pictures. Everything is still the same, but it has just become faster, and you get organic reach, which I think was not there beforehand. Common people recognize us, which I think was never the case with architects and designers. I'm sure everybody knows who Shah Rukh Khan is, but I don't think people know who the most famous architect of India is. Even I don't know all the architects and designers.
It also democratizes architecture
Yeah, so
and design.
that is the good part, and honestly, it feels good when common people recognize your say, or they tell you that, this particular post inspired me, or this helped me. So that is the beauty of social media. But having said that, I feel I'm not too attached to it. I feel it's a part of my life, not my life. And although I am addicted to it, and on the media it seems you're online all the time, that's not the case.
You need to define where your validation comes from.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
you need to be careful. Like, social media is not validation.
I think that's the perfect way to.
But it's also a Gen Z thing, right? Of instant gratification. It doesn't always work like that, right?
I think that's something which the new generation has to understand, that instant gratification is not something which takes you a long way. I mean, and somehow I come from very old school of thought, wherein I feel that the people don't need to know you, they need to know the brand. And it makes a successful business when brand is known rather than the person. I mean, that's my thought.
No, I was just saying that one last thought on, whether it's documentation or social media or
any other format where you can see all your body of work, I think it gives you some time to step back and see what you have been doing over the years. And it kind of gives you some introspective space or whatever. And I think that is also a role it's playing now. Because you could earlier not, like now you scroll through and you can see the body of work you're doing, how you're growing as a firm, as a person, or whatever it is. And I think that is an added advantage that now we
And
have.
also, I feel that the entire, I mean, that's again a positive thing about social media, that entire fraternity has, you know, come closer. You know about each and everybody's work, and that inspires you more to produce better work. So that's the beauty of it.
It definitely motivates you.
But I've realized it's more about collaboration over competition.
Yes.
And there's enough for everyone to do.
Yes, of course.
I think that's a perfect way to end this panel. You know, brand building is about so many different things. It is about figuring out who you are and what your purpose and your message for the world is and what kind of work you want to do. So first, most fundamentally, that is what you need to define. And then you get to the outreach and you have multiple media and, you know, some things will work for some people, other things will work for other people. You know, we always talk about social media, but there are email newsletters, there are events such as Poet, there are awards, there are, you know, there's so many different mechanisms for reaching out to your audience and your potential clientele. So, and all of you have had different kinds of journeys, you know, some positive, some negative. So it's important to remember that whatever we might be doing, you know, whatever media you might choose, remember who you're talking to, what your message is. And you can always find ways to solve those challenges and build a sustainable brand. And that is how we would like to end this conversation. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join us. And thank you to all my panelists as well.